story and we're going to create something so unbelievably fucking spectacular that no one will have ever seen anything like it. But I doubt they're going to do that.
Well, yeah, no, I'm like you. The only thing that I think that they can do different is say, hey, look, we actually put the Beatles, as we know them in real life, into this psychedelic world that you remember from Yellow Submarine. And you're right, Yellow Submarine was very much a product of its time. Now it's managed to endure, and children love that movie, man. I remember seeing that as a kid, and I loved it. And so there's a certain charm to it that's there. And that charm is that it is what it is, a 2D animated psychedelic film that is a product from its time. And I think that if they try to remake this, I'm all for it. It's an experiment. I'm not going to tell anybody not to do it. They might create something extremely an experience like we've never had before. But I don't know, man. It's like trying to remake Psycho. What can you, except with Psycho, they filmed it like frame for frame and didn't really do anything different. With this, I'm just like, man, people remember this so fondly that you really are kind of picking the wrong thing to remake.
Well, and it's not that people remember it fondly. I mean, the thing is, it's a film like that, something that's drawn like that isn't so much about the story, it's about the art and the music. Mm-hmm. I just don't get remaking it because there's not really much of a story there. Unless there's something, I don't know, unless they've got a really brilliant idea, I don't see a reason to do this. This is just one of those things that it doesn't click for me. I don't understand why anyone would want to do it. What I'd really like to see, rather than doing that, I'd love to see him make a new animated film with a bunch of the Beatles music that's never appeared in their films or in an animated film. I mean, did you ever see the trailer for the Beatles Rock Band?
Yeah, and everybody keeps telling me, and I haven't played it, but everybody keeps saying, all right, with Rock Band, you usually just sit there and you get bored watching people play. But they say with the Beatles Rock Band, you sit there and you watch the visuals, and they say the visuals are just fun to watch, and you don't really have to play the game.
Yeah, it's there's some at least in the trailer is unbelievably surreal and gorgeous. And if Zemeckis wanted to do something like that and just tell a whole different story with Beatles music, I would love to see that. That's what I would like to see. I don't want to see him remake Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of nervous about that myself because I really do love that movie. I've loved that movie since a kid, and it just has a style that seems to just cater to what it is at that time. But like I said, I'm not going to tell anybody they shouldn't do something because if it fails, hey, at least you have the original. You don't have to ever pay attention to that new thing that they made ever again. But then I might be like, wow. But that is kind of cool to say, like, something. You got all this music out there. Yeah, why not try to make something new? So.
Yeah, that I would be behind, and that I could understand. But just remaking Yellow Submarine is kind of like.
Now, speaking of making something new, Guillermo del Toro, who is proven to be a very visionary director, coming out with The Hobbit. When is The Hobbit supposed to be released? 2012?
I think 2011, 2012 is what I heard. They are going in. They finally can go into production now. I don't know. I haven't kept up on what year. I just know it's going to happen eventually. And the minute I see a trailer, it's, I'll believe it when I see it type thing.
Yeah.
I know it's coming, but it's just taken so long because they couldn't even shoot until they got everything settled with the Tolkien estate. And they finally settled that just a week or so ago. And they're moving forward now.
Okay, yeah. We're not seeing this to 2012. There's no way they'll get it done this year. But Guillermo del Toro signed a contract with Disney to produce animated films for them of all ages. And that's probably going back to what I was talking about with Nine, because Guillermo del Toro has said he wants to make movies with thrills and chills, animated films through Disney that are going to be for all ages of people, which I can only think, let me see what it's called, Disney Double Dare. Double Dare You. Disney, that'd be Nickelodeon. Guillermo del Toro has all these traps and shit set up where children actually die trying to get to this game. But yeah, Disney Double Dare You, where it's going to be coming out with a lot of movies, I think. And I'm reading here, like his first project is going to be something called Troll Hunters. But now, see, that's the kind of guy I think could actually get away with making an animated film that would be like PG-13 for older kids and adults. And I'd be really looking forward to seeing something that he'd do with that. Because I always said I would love to see Guillermo del Toro not just produce an animated feature, but actually direct one.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily want to see him direct one because he's so good with live action. But producing, he's got incredible production skills. You talk to anybody that's worked with him, anyone he's come in to help. He's got a knack for very quietly swooping in and helping young directors, and he's really got a great nose for talent. If you remember, he plucked those two guys out of obscurity in Spain, and they made The Orphanage.
Yeah, The Orphanage, yeah.
And in talking to them after seeing that film, I was like, they were talking about, what kind of producer Guillermo was. And they're like, look, we had disagreements, but he told us right up front, he said, look, I'm going to end up disagreeing with you at times. You need to make the call whether you want to listen to me or whether you want to listen to yourself. And that's what you're going to do. And that's Guillermo is very much that kind of producer. He's not hands off, but he lets the director make the final decision. He never bullies. And everybody that's worked with him says that. I want to see who he plucks out to make these animated films, because what he's going to do is introduce us to new geniuses, because he's got a nose for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'd rather see him, his production skills are great. Of course, needless to say, him as a director, great director. But I'd like to see what he does at least once with an animated film, instead of just wondering what he would do. I mean, if he's not good at it or if it doesn't work out, then, too bad, but so what, we've seen it. But I really would like to see him try something like that. I mean, the guy has he's had such a wild vision. I mean, look at something like the Hellboy movies, which I could see him doing animated characters, something like that. But even though I wasn't crazy about the Hellboy movies, I admire them for the visuals very much. And I was just watching the Pan's Labyrinth today, man. Movie,
oh God, I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie's it's an odd movie, man, because everybody talks about how sad it is. The movie, for people who haven't seen it, it deals with this little girl who, in the middle of the Spanish War, she's taken to the house of this a very cruel and sadistic general, and he's fighting the resistance. And to get away from all of it, because the Spanish War is a horrible war in the first place, but to kind of take herself out of it, she has to imagine this fantasy world. And her fantasy world is equally as fucked up too. It pretty much leads up to...
Now, see, that's the brilliance of Pan's Labyrinth, is that it's never quite clear. And you can tell who is an optimist and who is a pessimist by hearing how they describe and explain that film. Because either she has to create this fantasy world to get away from how horrible her life is, or there actually is a fantasy world that is trying to pull her back into it. And that's the ending is very ambiguous. It's either very sad or very happy.
See, I would agree with you, except there's one scene where you see her talking to one of these fantasy creatures, and she's actually talking to herself, and that person's looking at her like, what the hell? And so it leads you to even think like, man, this little girl is crazy. And it's brought her like, it's done her more harm than good.
I disagree with how that scene plays. That's the brilliance of Pan's Labyrinth. There is no definitive way. You can look at it either way, and they're totally supported. It's all what's in your head and what you feel. But both films are fantastic. Whether it's a fantasy film or whether it's a film about a girl who's lost her mind and is living in a fantasy world, both films play perfectly and are wonderful. And that's the brilliance of that film.
Yeah, no, I really wanted him to make that next film that he wanted to do. I think Sons of Saturn or something like that, where the Earth is about to be destroyed, and this kid is like having his own fantasy world that he goes into before the last days. And because he has this thing where he makes fantasy films, but they're in the context of an adult movie. So
yeah, no, he does a great job of adding childhood into adult films and making audiences connect with it. I absolutely adore his work.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for everything he does. I mean, I'm not crazy about everything he does, because I tell you, I saw Cronos, man. And Cronos is it's not a bad movie, but I wasn't crazy about it.
His very first film, no budget, self-produced. I kind of like it, but no, it's nowhere near what he was capable of.
No, he's definitely grown into what he is now, and you forgive whatever it is that you don't like about that movie, because it is his first movie, and it was good enough to launch him into what he is now. But yeah, when I saw it, after hearing all the hype about it, I was kind of like, it's all right, but wasn't what I expected. But Anyway, man, let me see what time we have here. We got like about 13 minutes.
We got 15 minutes.
We got 15 minutes? Now, is that enough to like start into email right now?
Oh, yeah, and I've got a lot of tweets, a lot of email questions for us.
Okay, all right, then why don't you go ahead and pick yours then?
Well, let's start out. This one you'll enjoy. This is from Rob Eternal.
Eternal.
And he says, "Hi, guys. Which overused plot device are you sick of seeing in movies?"
Which overused plot device?
Yeah, and I know you've got yours.
I do have mine. Why don't you name yours then while I think about this?
Mine, the one that is just used too much and really I've gotten sick of, is cell phone being out of service. Now, I understand why they have to do that sometimes, but it's one of those things that there's that scene in every movie now. Every single film, somebody's got to reach in and grab their cell phone and look at it and go, no service. And it happens in every fucking horror movie. Every single one. And it's just been done to death. I've seen a few films that haven't done it, and you don't miss the cell phone. You don't ask because you understand. They're in the middle of the fucking woods. They're not going to get any reception. We get it.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that. I mean, they always have to – they might as well just point the cell phone at the audience and say, see? We're in danger. Yeah, it's very obvious right now. We get it now. You know, sometimes you could even like, I wouldn't even be so upset if the person just got on the phone and didn't even say anything. You could just tell by their face, like, okay, it's not working, because we know this shit doesn't work at this point. Yeah, especially out in the middle of nowhere. Otherwise, they would have made a fucking call by this point, had 911 sending out the army or some shit. But I think mine is in the opposite of the horror film, or at least a drastic departure from it, which is the romantic comedy. And what I hate in the romantic comedy is when someone has a really good reason for why they didn't show up to this person's date, recital, or important thing to them, which is usually the woman wanting the guy to show up. And the woman gets upset and she's like, you weren't there. You weren't there for me. And where were you? Or they think the guy's out cheating with someone or doing something bad. And the guy just sits there and he's like, but, and he never explains himself. And the only reason why they don't let this person explain themselves is so those two can break up or have some time apart so they can have some grand reunion at the end of the movie, which is what we want. And I don't mind them following those beats right there to where they break up and they get back together. We need that for that movie. But I'm just tired of the person who just does not explain himself, because that guy grabbed the woman and just said, will you shut up for a moment? Look, my mother died, okay? And I couldn't make it. You don't believe me? Call her.
It's like every episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Except Seinfeld is funny.
Is this the one where something happens and then Jerry refuses to explain himself or pull someone aside and ask him a question, and as a result we have half an hour of uncomfortableness? Oh, wow, I haven't seen that one before.
But see, Seinfeld is so absurd sometimes that you accept that for that, and it makes you laugh the whole time. We don't even think about it. In a movie, we're just kind of like frustrated. In a romantic comedy, we're frustrated. We're like, man, just tell her.
That is a lazy device.
Yes. All right, the guy didn't make the subway in time or something. It's just like, it's very easy. Just tell her, man. All right. So, yeah, that's what I hate. So we got two good ones out there. Want to read the next question?
Yeah. This one's from Grog42. And I guess this ties in with Inglourious Bastards. But what is your all-time favorite war movie and why?
Oh, wow. I
don't even have to think about that one.
Okay, well, you go ahead then.
Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen?
Oh, my God, I love The Dirty Dozen. Oh, it's such a good movie. If you've never seen this movie, or you think you've seen it because you've seen little clips here and there, you need to sit down and watch this. It's 2.5 hours of awesomeness in which some of the greatest it's a lot like The Magnificent Seven in how you get some of the greatest actors of their generation all together in one group, and they do really badass things. And it's about these 12 guys who are all convicts who are either sentenced to 30 years to life or sentenced to hang for various crimes they've committed, and they get reactivated to go on a suicide mission to take out this German chateau. And it is just glorious. It is fantastic. Lee Marvin plays the troubled major who has to come in and train these guys. And then it's got John Cassavetes and Charles Bronson. And now I'm going to Telly Savalas plays the crazy guy, and it's just such a goddamn good movie. I love it. I've seen that movie well over 100 times. I absolutely adore it.
if you want to, I mean, I have lots of, the reason why it took me a while to think of it, I have lots of movies that I like that are war films. Some of them more recent and some of them older. I remember watching Stalag 17.
Oh, Stalag 17 is also one of my favorites.
Yeah, 1953, where there, it dealt with the German POW camp during World War II, and it's all about the Americans having to cope within there. And in fact, it is the basis for Hogan's Heroes, which went up to be like a sitcom, but it's very different from Stalag 17. Stalag 17 is similar because it has humor in there, but it also has a lot of intrigue and and some really kind of scary moments and some sad moments too. So Stalag 17 is almost like a drama set in a POW camp, which leads me to the next one, which is The Great Escape with Steve McQueen, man, which I thought was just a really fun World War II movie as these guys plan this big escape from a POW camp. I guess going to more recent films is I love Full Metal Jacket, man. I love that you have this story about the Vietnam War, or two stories about the Vietnam War, and you follow one character going through them, Private Joker, and that's the movie we got. We're first introduced to somebody like a lot of people were first introduced to what's his name from God, the big dude, D'Onofrio.
Vincent
D'Onofrio, and I mean Vincent D'Onofrio just kind of came onto the scene with a great performance in there as Private Snowball, the guy who started out as this big sissy, but ended up being like this really scary guy at the end.
And don't forget that it truly exposed the world to the glory that is R. Lee Ermey.
Oh yeah, as a drill sergeant, man.
I mean, almost every line from that movie that people know is an R. Lee Ermey line.
Well, not really, because we also have some other memorable lines like "Tu buku" from the Vietnamese prostitute.
It ain't too goddamn buku.
Yeah, and that line, and I got what is it?
And all me so horny, but
all me so horny, yeah. And I got 8 foot of Colorado black snake right here. With, something like that line. That line went. Well,
yeah,
like
but that's
that.
all the same. That's that one scene. That's. But aside from that, everything else is R. Lee Ermey lines, man. Yeah. There's only 2 things that come from Texas, boy: steers and queers.
Now, did he ask for war movies or movies about the Army?
He said war movies.
War movies, okay. And
favorite war movies.
Look, call me call this typical, or just say I'm too mainstream, but I really do love Saving Private Ryan. And you got to understand, when I went to go see Saving Private Ryan, I heard it was a Spielberg film. And I thought it was going to be like this comedy or it's going to be this lighthearted film. And when I went in there, first of all, they had all these security guards guarding the print. And I was like, oh, this must be kind of a new thing, whatever. I don't know what's going on with this. And then I go in there and they open up with them storming the beach of Normandy. And that's really one of the most graphic war scenes I've ever seen. I'm like, holy shit, I was not expecting this at all. And I don't know, man. I love that movie. I really do.
Yeah, I like it. I'm not in love with it. It's one of those that just everybody, it's one of those that people really love and think is one of the greatest of the 90s, and it never won me over. I should probably revisit it, but I
just look at the impact that it had because, first of all, I know the sappy scenes in there, and I don't like them as much as anybody else. I recognize that, but the movie is a masterpiece in directing, though, for scenes outside of those really melodramatic parts. And that movie has such an influence on everything from how we do war scenes in films to even video games. I can't tell you how many video games I've seen open up with it's underwater at first, and you see the bullets going flying into the water, and with that zoom sound effect, and it was like, wow, Saving Private Ryan has really had an impact on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got anything else to name?
No, but I've got another question.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, this is from Jack Whiplash.
Jack Whiplash.
What would be your favorite film or films that you saw at a film fest that never got wide release or the acclaim it deserved?
Oh, that's an easy one for me.
Okay.
The Woman Chaser, which is one of my favorite films. Saw it at South by Southwest. Saw it twice. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell was that? Second time I saw it, loved it. It's a movie with who played Putty on Seinfeld? I keep forgetting that guy's name.
I forget his name as well.
But it was a movie directed by this guy named Robinson Dufour. Guy's made about 3 different films I know of. One of them is an infamous movie about fucking horses. It was called Zoo.
Oh, Zoo is so good, though.
I thought it was too long. I actually saw Zoo at the theater because I love that director. But this movie, The Woman Chaser, is like one of the most original film war movies that I've ever seen. Shot in black and white, and people try to put it in, try to categorize it as a comedy, but it really is a film war crime film. And I really can't say too much about it because I'll be spoiling a lot of the surprise of it. But people, you should try to look that up, and if you can find it, watch it. It's a bizarre but really interesting film. Patrick Warburton is the guy's name. He's the lead guy in the movie, and he really wanted to do it because he said this is a movie that I've never seen a script like this before, and this is a great role, and it is, and he encompasses that role great. He looks like a guy like that really strong, chiseled jaw, tough guy look from the 60s and back.
And he's got that voice.
Oh, and that voice is incredible, man.
He's the voice of Brock Samson.
Yeah, man.
Freaking Samson.
Yeah. No, it's Brock Samson. Doc, come here. It's great, man. That movie. You should see that movie. So what do you got?
You know what? It's a movie called The Cold Hour. It's a Spanish film. I just absolutely love this film. It got no play here in the States. You can find it in Britain, released as The Dark Hour. It is an incredible, incredible movie that played Fantastic Fest a few years ago. La Hora Fria is the Spanish name. It is well worth importing. It is an incredible film. Have you seen this yet, Corey?
No.
Oh, my God. You would flip out for this. It's an end-of-the-world movie, and it's about the last remnants of humanity living in an underground bunker after all hell is broken loose. And it's told from the point of view of an 8-year-old boy who's been given a video camera, and he's going around filming his life and having a video diary. And it's not a cheap film shot from a video point of view. That's just kind of how we're introduced to this 8-year-old boy. And we're seeing an 8-year-old boy who has never known anything but the end of the world. And it's told from his point of view, and it's absolutely fantastic. It is a beautiful, frightening, terrifying film in which the last 10 seconds are some of the best last 10 seconds of any film I've ever seen in my life. I was fortunate enough to see it in theaters twice. I got to introduce it both times because I saw it on DVD and just fell in love with it. And as a DVD screener, and it was just, I got to watch the audience reaction both times, just watching people's minds get blown. This is a film that Jason also really loves the hell out of. I introduced him to that, and it blew his mind. It's called La Hora Fria, The Dark Hour in the UK. Seek this thing out if you can find it. Stream it if you have to. If you're here in the States, whatever you do, find this film. It is such a great movie.
So is this what is it? I'm thinking about a nuclear war scenario. Is this a virus, or is this?
The thing is as the movie progresses, you slowly learn what happened to Earth. And that's part of what the film is it doesn't tell you right away. And as things slowly develop, weird shit starts happening. You start seeing what these people are afraid of. It starts going even further until you get to the finale of the film, and it's just so good. I don't want to spoil anything except to tell you what you learn in the first 5 minutes.
Gotcha. Now you've certainly hooked me. I want to see this now. What's it called? La Hora Fria?
La Hora Fria. The Cold Hour.
The Cold Hour. Okay. La Hora Fria. All right. Got you. Sounds like
especially since you're a fan of Rec, you will dig the shit out of this.
Oh, nice. Well, that's all you have to say, man. I'm going to see if I can find that on Netflix tonight. And hopefully
I don't know if Netflix has it. It would be really cool if they had it for streaming, if that were one of the things that somehow they'd gotten. But I don't think it's really available here in the States. The only person I know that has it ordered a UK DVD of it.
You know what? I'm going to look right now because they had Time Killers for streaming on there. Time Crimes.
Time Crimes. Well, yeah, but Time Crimes got distribution here in the States. That got picked up by Magnet, and Magnet released it.
And Netflix just told me, fuck you, we don't have it. So.
Yep.
That's too bad. Now, do you have another question you want to read?
Well, let's do one more. We're at almost an hour, so let's.
Oh, wait a minute! Oh, no. They have it to save, so they don't have it.
Yeah, like if it ever comes out. So let's go back to that Beatles thing you were talking about. Someone asked, this is from Naruto20.
Hello, Naruto. How are you?
Naruto20. It's the 20th person to take Naruto. Okay, since the Beatles remastered stuff came out, what bands from the 60s to the 80s would you like to have remastered?
What bands from the 60s to the 80s would I like to have remastered?
Yes.
You know something? I can't really name a band, but I really am into that folk, psychedelic, freedom rock age, or like in that age of Woodstock. I like that music, and I know they just brought out a compilation of a lot of bands from that era and that style of music, and so I'd like to hear a lot of those remastered, which they just did. So maybe they just did what I wanted them to do. Other than that, I really can't think of anything that they haven't already remastered, because I know they've remastered The Doors, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Janis Joplin, I'm sure, all the staples of that period. Now they said between the 60s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't have a unique answer for that. How about yourself?
Well, there's two bands that I'd like to hear, them do some stuff of, because a lot of their earlier stuff is a little raw. The first is Elton John. Now
he doesn't have remastered stuff out there.
He does, but I don't know if a lot of the earlier stuff's been really remastered and given the same kind of, because what you have to understand is the Beatles stuff was remastered. Like they went in and they pulled out some stuff and just tweaked everything to where it's a different experience listening to these things. If that's what we're talking about, I would have to say early Elton John. Elton John got kind of, I hate to say it, but he got very, very poppy in like in the late 70s and throughout the 80s and on. But one of his first albums, Madman on the Water, is just such a great album. That's where Yellow Brick Road and Rocket Man come from.
Yeah, no, that's a great album, and I know what you're saying. And you talking about Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, that song and all that?
Yeah.
No, that's...
And I would love to hear that album remastered and his early stuff redone. And also I'd love to hear them do that with Queen.
See, those are bands that I thought had that treatment already.
They had them. I know that Queen got remastered back in the 90s, but that was the early 90s, and they had different technology. I want to see what they can do now, if they can really do the same kind of thing that they did with the Beatles, or if that was a special case where they had stuff that was never able to be toyed with that they got the rights back to, or whatever the story was on that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good question, man. So I guess I should get some questions in from this side so people will say I'm not forgetting them. Let me get a couple here. All right. Let's see. This is a person who says that there's a new Pirates movie coming out, and they say that they like the Pirates of the Caribbean series, but they think that it has too much of the Disney hand attached to it, so it makes it kind of tame. But they want to know, he says, so my question is, why have we yet to see a good adult pirate movie? You know what I'm talking about. Like a movie with copious amounts of violence, drinking, and salty bitches. And this question comes from Gorman Ulu. Thank you for telling me how to say your name, by the way. And they said, love the site and listen to the podcast every day and keep it up. All right, so I don't know. Now, are there any good, first of all, rated R or very violent pirate movies, mainstream pirate movies out there that you can think of?
No.
Okay.
I mean, there's some decent PG ones, but the thing with, this is really simple. The fact is, when you make something with pirates, kids want to see it. Mm-hmm. So you want to make it so that the kids can see it. It's that simple. Pirates is something that appeals to a very young, there's something about how piracy seems when you're younger than when you really look at it as an adult. Why aren't there any really good pirate movies? 'Cause you don't really need the ultra gore and the sex to tell a good pirate story, and it's really one of those things that I don't know, it doesn't lend itself to that. There's just something about embracing the fantasy of it, and when you embrace the fantasy of it, you don't need to go there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah. I can see someone doing it, but with the right story where they really do say we want to show the brutality of how these pirates were, and maybe not we're not telling an exact story from history, but we want to keep the nature of the brutality of that period. But they'd have to do it with a really good story, though, because you're right, especially after Pirates of the Caribbean, everybody wants to see a swashbuckling adventure, and that's going to be on people's minds for a while. Now, if you want to see a pirate movie that is strictly adult, I mean, talking about rated X, there was a movie called Pirates that came out in 2005, and is considered to have one of the best budgets for a porn film, which is not saying too much, but they say, hey, it's even a surprisingly good budget
they spent like 20 million on it.
Yeah, and they say it's even a good budget for a film of that type. I don't know if it's the most exciting porn film, but I think they even released they were talking about it one time, releasing a rated R version of it because they were so proud of the production qualities. I don't know if they ever did it, because they probably did it and be like, without this sex, this ain't shit.
Well, if I remember correctly, this is the movie where they rented the Black Pearl, and the owners of the Black Pearl didn't know what they were using it for. They knew they were using it for a film, and they just wanted the Black Pearl, and they're like, okay. And so they actually are having sex in the Black Pearl.
Yeah, Johnny Depp and Keira Knightley get back on the boat, and they're like, why does this smell like sex and ass up here? what's going on with this boat? It didn't smell like this last time we were hanging out on this set.
I guess it kind of redefines the phrase swab the deck, me mateys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for us then.
Well, let me see. I want to give one more because I did get a lot, and and a lot from people who I've not heard from before. So let's see here. Just saw one. The Wooda, the WHOODA says, my question: after seeing The Good Shepherd, I decided I was sick of the nagging wife characters like Angelina Jolie's in that movie, or similar characters in Donnie Brasco, or TV's Breaking Bad, and millions of other movies. So my question is, are there any types of cheap movie conventions like that you're getting sick of, or that you've noticed being overused? And now we answered this question kind of before, but we answered it with plot devices. And now characters can be seen as plot devices also, but I guess this question does kind of center more on character types that are used as plot devices.
Okay, was that a question? I don't know.
Well, it was. I understand what he's saying.
I get what he's saying, but it's essentially the same question. But let's modify it. Are there any characters character conventions that you're getting sick of in films?
Yeah, there is one. And right now he mentioned Breaking Bad, and I'm glad you mentioned Breaking Bad because I just finished the whole first season on DVD thanks to Leon giving me that, and I thought it's a very addictive series. However, there are some areas where they take shorthand approaches to getting the plot along or showing you how characters are, and one of them is they're dealing with a drug dealer. And the drug dealer is just crazy out of his mind because he's a meth head. And there's one scene where he beats the shit out of one of his henchmen because they're about to leave. And the henchman's like, he's like, all right. The main drug dealer's like, all right, good doing business with you. I'll see you next week. And one of his henchmen is like, yeah, don't forget who you working for, Holmes. And the drug dealer turns around and he's like, what are you doing? And the guy's like, I'm sorry. No, were you trying to say they're stupid? No, you trying to say I'm stupid? No, hey, what? I'm cool. And then he walks away, but then he turns right back around and starts beating the shit out of this guy. I don't know if he beat the guy to death or he just knocked him out really bad to where he has to go to the hospital, but that character was used to show you, oh, wow, that drug dealer's ruthless, man. He's dangerous. And it so stood out like that I was like, all right, that was a little too obvious. And I've seen that in movies where the drug dealer would take it out, or the villain will take it out on their henchmen to show how ruthless they are, instead of doing it in a more convincing way. And and as much as I like something, that's one little character type, a plot device I'm not too fond of anymore.
Right on. I'm tired of the goofy best friend in the horror movie. That's it's kind of trite and old. It really, I mean, it was something that really worked back in the 80s and was something that worked for quite some time, but now it's kind of like, oh, look, it's the goofy fifth wheel Yeah, I've never seen that a billion times before, and I'm not, he's just such a worthless character, but he's done there for the comic relief, and I think with smart writing you can do it better.
I agree with that. I agree. We can go on all night with that one. There's so many types out there like that, but we have gone a little bit over an hour, and I think we're going to go ahead and call it quits.
All right. Well, then, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Sons of bitches.
All right, night, Corey.
Trying to find a button to stop. It's not like I'm hanging on or anything. I can't let you go, Carlisle.